hey, I'm recording this at work, so no one snitch on me. But a lot has actually happened since
It's kind of like, yo, dog, like you're literally like society exists and you're in Samaria still, like just hanging out with cuneiform tablets. Like people also forget about the fact that there was actually a mass extinction on this continent.
So, Dan, I know you don't use TikTok too often, but Dan, you and I, we're TikTok connoisseurs of sorts, I suppose, right?
You just said my name twice, but yes, go on.
Fuck you, Dan. I was talking to Jackson and you know it. That was, the goblins and ghouls who switched the word.
We're still early
enough
enough on. Do you want to restart? Do you want to start over? We can start over. You want to
start over.
You want another take?
Yeah, it's okay, Noah. I mean, it's funny because like you even took like 3 seconds to come in with that cold open there.
Yeah, you did.
It was like he was charged, like he charged the beam weapon there, and then just completely misfired.
Yeah, complete whiff. Go ahead, Noah. Go ahead. Start again. Take it from the top.
So, Jackson, I know you and I are kind of TikTok aficionados. Maybe Dan not so much, but he's there and he's trying.
That's true.
Do you ever land on Appalachia TikTok?
I mean, yeah, just because like it's where we live. Kind of. It's kind of where we live.
It's kind of where we live. Do you come across like the normal side of Appalachia talk where it's like, hey, we're people that live in the woods, or you come across like the superstitious side of Appalachia talk where they're like, yeah, if you go in the woods, you will die?
Let me do you one better. I come across the side of the people who don't like the superstitious people. So like it starts out with like if you go in the woods you die, and then someone else comes on the screen, they're like, actually, no.
That's fantastic. Because I keep coming across the superstitious side, which
I hate it.
I'm not gonna lie. Every now and then I'm like, yeah, a good story here and there where I learn that if I hear whistling in the woods, I'm dead. That's always fun. But then
it's a fun, like, spooky story, but people take it as if it's real.
Exactly. And that's what I would like to talk about today. I would like to talk about people going missing in the woods. Now, this is obviously not about the real people who go missing in woods, because I think that's pretty tragic and bad. But and this is kind of a play off of Jackson's tweet from a hot minute ago, where he tweeted about people going missing in the woods, and we just talked about like hunters for a hot second. But
yeah,
I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of like heavy superstition recently, and I would just like to point out every single hunter that I know who goes out hunting, even like my old boss at the barbershop who went on this like 2-week-long elk hunt in the mountains of Colorado, you know?
It's so long to be in the mountains of Colorado.
He agrees. Yeah. That's why he only did 1 week the next year.
Well, especially if you get a good shot off, you get an elk on day 1. Now you just got 13 days with you in a frozen elk carcass.
No, that's what he was saying too. Is like, you know, oh cool, day 1 you happen to bag an elk. Day 2 you drag it down to the butcher who hangs it for you, and it like takes care of it until it's time to leave. But then everyone else, you got to wait for either them to give up or to get something. And each time, I think they only got like 1 or 2 elk with their group. But still, you know, like he decided that 1 week was enough for him.
One time my dad went elk hunting in Montana with one of his friends.
Ooh.
And his friend got an elk like a mile away from anyone else. So, you know, no one knew he got an elk. And this was in like the 80s. So this was before like cell phones. And rather than like walking back to everyone else and be like, hey guys, I got an elk, want to help me haul it? He literally spent like the entire day crafting like a pulley and sled system to haul the elk like a mile in the woods. And like everyone was like, you could have just said something. We would have just helped.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he spent like 6 hours just like literally like fastening rope to an elk and like rolling logs underneath it, like how they used to like move wagons across rivers. You're like, Jesus,
that's so good. Oh my gosh, yeah. I love that. But back to the main point, you know, like everyone I know who hunts is very respectful of the woods, right? Like everyone is aware of the fact that if you're in woods you're not familiar with, you could get lost. Like to specifically talk about the Colorado hunting crew, they would walk, you know, like upwards of 10 plus miles a day. Probably actually a lot more than that, come to think of it, and up and down rough terrain, sometimes with a buddy, sometimes by themselves. But also this crew's been hunting the same spot for like years and years now. So a lot of them are familiar with it, but that doesn't mean that they're not being careful, right? They have maps of the area. They have GPS units to figure out where they're at. And, you know, they do their best to be careful. And you know what? Someday, someone, probably not from their group, because they're pretty careful, but someone in that area, there's going to be someone that goes missing. I guarantee maybe even within this last year, there were several people going missing in the Colorado mountains, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's the Rockies.
Exactly. But here's the thing. And once again, I'm all for spooky stories about the big scary woods. It's very fun to be in an area with a lot of woods and someone being like, well, let's gather around the campfire here. Let me tell you about old Skinny
Whoa.
Fingers. The thing with
That sounds
skinny
scary.
fingers who eat your face. And it's like,
I wouldn't want to
whoa.
mess around with that guy.
And then they're like, and then if you're in the woods and it gets really quiet, that's how you know old Skinny Fingers is coming. And I'm like, oh man, I've been in quiet woods before. That's crazy. And it's definitely not quiet because I'm moving around and scaring animals away. It's definitely quiet for different reasons, like.
It's because of Skinny Fingers, probably.
Yeah, Skinny Fingers, exactly. But I came across an Appalachia Talk video, and I'm like, oh, cool, fun story. And then the person in the comments, they followed up with a video response to, like, I shit you not, maybe like 30 different people, where they were like, they were agreeing with the comment that was like, and you never go out past dark, and you never go out toward the crying girl, and you never go towards something calling your name. And I
Maybe you don't.
I don't know, man. Like, as a generally not superstitious person, like who was I talking to about this? Dan, was it you where I'm like, yeah, I'm really afraid of the dark, even though I don't believe there's anything in the dark to get me. I'm just afraid of the dark.
Yeah, you were, and also fair and valid.
Yeah, it's
That's
like,
pretty spooky.
I mean, I don't know why. Maybe I just never
Because
grew
darkness
up.
is spooky. Like, no, you stand by that, because I'm with you. Darkness is spooky. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think about the Bloody Mary trick where it's like, actually, if you're in the dark and your brain sees you in a mirror, it also, if it believes there's supposed to be something else there, then it will start to project that because it's not really sure how to handle mirrors in the dark sometimes. And that's how Bloody Mary works, is you're in the dark, you're disoriented, and you're like, and then if I say this, something's going to appear, and then boom, you start to see scary things, right? You see something move out of the corner of your eye, yada, 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 yada. Also afraid of mirrors, by the way. I don't know about y'all, but mirrors in the dark scare the shit out of me.
I like looking at myself in the mirror in the dark, but that's because I am actually just insane. I'm a little bit loopy.
Could not agree less.
I think it's fun to just be like, huh, that's kind of almost me.
You ever do that? You guys ever, like, get real close to a mirror and, like, actually, like, look at yourself? Like, really look at yourself?
In the dark, you gotta do it.
In the dark, also to do it, but like in general, do it. Like I don't know. There's this exercise in acting / improv where you just like sit and like stare into somebody else's eyes for like a little while. And it's super cool. It's actually a really neat exercise. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Just every now and again, take a moment, really look at yourself in the mirror. Be like, damn.
Yeah, and
I really do be out here.
It'll be. If you do it for too long in the dark, it actually just becomes Mr. Skinny Fingers, and he gets you.
It's true.
Damn.
That's how many just guinea fingers do be getting you.
But I have long held that I just get pissed off by people who say that. I mean, like that's kind of the point of my tweet. People would be like, "This hunter disappeared in the woods. Could it be because it was a Wendigo that took him away?" And you're like, "Hey man, did you know that like Yellowstone is fucking bigger than Delaware? And like there are more like the national parks in Alaska. What's like the Wrangell's park is like it's like the massive. It's literally fucking the size of like New Jersey. Believe it or not, you can disappear in something the size of New Jersey with very little supervision and no one really like actively watching you. And if you're like even 2 miles off of a trail, you're probably just fucking gone forever unless someone knew exactly where you were.
Mm-hmm.
Because to take like 40, 50 park rangers and do like a search and rescue, like in a thickly wooded area, especially with like snowfall, it's nigh impossible to find somebody. And I don't think that's because of creatures in the woods. I think that's probably because it's easy to get lost when you're alone far out in the middle of nowhere. Especially when you like look back at like the times and like the people who created these legends, like skinwalkers and wendigos and other like Native American legends. The whole fucking country was a national park functionally back then.
Mm-hmm.
And creatures were bigger. Like, people also forget about the fact that there was actually a mass extinction on this continent. I think it was between 14,000 and 12,000 years ago when, like, a whole shitload of stuff died. Like, those massive ground sloths.
Mm-hmm.
There were people here. There were Native Americans here. Not exactly the same tribes you would see people having, like, relics of and, like, you know, like, the the Iroquois tribes. Like, they weren't necessarily there at the time, I don't believe, but some tribes were. And also their ancestors became the tribes that we remember today and that we like see today. And like if you saw a fucking ground sloth 14,000 years ago, and you went back and you told everyone, hey, yeah, there was this like 8 foot tall creature that lived in a cave and it was really scary and smelled bad, everyone would be like, that's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's a ground sloth and there weren't many of them because they were going extinct. So like it's in the process of all of them dying. So odds are you're not going to be able to like know about them. There's not going to be a whole bunch of them. You're not going to see more and you might never see one again. So legends get born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then obviously those legends get warped and twisted over time because they get passed down from generation to generation. And, you know, people add a little bit of embellishment on.
Until Skinny Fingers comes back.
Precisely.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to shit on traditions. I don't want to be that guy that's just like, and that's why everything is fake. But also, like, I don't know, like stuff like that specifically, where it's like, especially if you're people that live in the woods, you're going to be more acutely aware of the dangers of the woods, right? However,
You would hope.
if you're living in the woods and maybe you're not more acutely aware of the danger as much as you are very aware that there is danger, and all you know is that, well, you know, my grandma always told me that if I went out too late, bad things would happen. You know, God forbid you go out too late and you get lost in the dark in the woods because it's actually really hard to navigate in the woods at night. You know, I don't know. It's,
It's like
I see stuff like this and I try to not be an asshole, right? And I would not go.
it's where you and I differ.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not going to go on these people's videos and be like, you know, there's a scientific explanation for that. I'm very smart.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, what are
You
you?
know,
I would never comment on a video. If you comment on a video,
What are you?
go fuck yourself.
What are you, Neil
Ever.
deGrasse Tyson? Get out of here.
Any video. If someone makes a video and you're like, I'm gonna say something, shut up. You suck. Unless it's something nice. If you say something nice, thank you. That's kind.
You say
But
something
if you're
nice,
gonna
you
be
can
like,
say
actually,
anything at all.
you're wrong and dumb. Shut the fuck up. You suck. Even if they're wrong and dumb, just let them be. Because what are you gonna do? Be the one who changes their world by being like, hey, idiot, Mr. Skinny Fingers isn't actually real. It might have even been a passed down legend of a ground sloth, or perhaps your grandpa was lying to you. Fuck, they might even know that. They're just telling a story. Leave them alone.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, happy Halloween. Today is
Socrates out
Halloween
here.
itself, and
Oh,
you know, that's why some stuff like this, I guess, is on my mind, is because that's all I'm seeing everywhere.
yeah. I mean, it's a fun time though.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like these legends and I like these stories, but that's just because I also love like the outdoors and being outside.
Mhm.
But I think some people take it a little bit too far and really don't know. Like, it's kind of like I feel like it's the equivalent of you're teaching a whole bunch of like 13-year-old kids on TikTok about snipe hunting for the first time,
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. That is
and
exactly
they're like, "Oh my
what it
god,
is.
we're going on a Wendigo hunt." No, dude, it's you're getting sent on a snipe hunt. That's a deer bed, you asshole. Like. Yeah. But they're kids that are getting these videos and kids that are receiving this and propagating it, and that's fine because hell, like I remember hearing about snipes. My mom was always telling me a story about how her dad and his brothers would always take her and her siblings out humanoid hunting for like looking for humanoids, the creatures that were out in the woods, just to mess with kids. That's how all this shit starts, just to mess with kids because it's funny. You didn't have TV back in the day, so you'd talk about skinwalkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like there is like a spiritual element to those things as well, but the embellishments and the powers and some of the things, like it gets to a point where it's a folklore, it's a story at that point, and it's for cultural value. And I feel like a whole bunch of kids talking about like, there's a skinwalker stalking me. Like you're literally you sound like, dog. You sound like you're like one of those conservatives who's like, I'm being gang stalked by the liberal media. Bro, shut up. That's not an FBI surveillance agent. That's a 16-year-old working at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a skinwalker. That's just a guy who said something a little bit weird on accident when he was trying to make a sentence.
I tell you, gang
Please.
stalking is possibly my favorite.
I love it.
Like rabbit hole to go down, especially because it's first of obviously people suffer from this. Usually, it is a mental problem that they are going through. Most of the
It's real.
time, you're gonna. But yeah, also it's it's always real every time. But you get these holes that you go down where you're like, I came across a guy who was convinced on TikTok. He was like, yeah, I'm being gang stalked. And he like was going through stuff and explaining it all. And there were people in the comments who are like, dude, I promise you nothing is happening. And he's like, yeah, okay, you would say that. You're part of him.
Because you're one of them.
And I can't imagine living like that.
I think, and I'm not even saying this like as a joke, but I think that there is a very real component to our ability to create neurological pathways. I mean, it is proven that we can create like you can make yourself more introverted. You can make yourself develop something like ADHD. Like this is just something that is possible. That's not how it works for everybody, but there are situations where you can develop an issue because of the way you're conditioning your neurological pathways. And I feel like for a lot of people who get down these rabbit holes, they are basically like convincing themselves and deluding themselves to the point where they're almost bringing on a state of like diagnosable paranoia, because like the ways that they're believing things and the ways that they're interpreting the world around them for over the course of years are like actually leading to them genuinely believing that someone saying, hey man, it's okay, in a TikTok comment section is an FBI surveillance agent who is out to get them because everyone they meet is out to get them, and the person who took their order at Wendy's is actually from the NSA.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just like that's a scary concept to think about, like the immense power that our mindset can have over like our perception of things, and over years how that can develop different neurological pathways. Again, it's over years and it's not always, and it's not like concrete, and that doesn't mean you can cure things either, but it's just there are certain symptoms that can be exacerbated and oftentimes created through conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole point of the CIA for like 40 years. It's fine. It's fine. And does me saying that mean that I'm conditioned to believe certain things, that I have been a byproduct of this neurological conditioning that has been brought about by the CIA? Yeah, maybe the CIA has got me.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jackson,
Or
and I
maybe
can say
they've got
for
you.
a fact that they've got Jackson.
Yeah, I'm actually, you're being gang stalked.
Jackson is a false
Specifically
flag.
you. I'm that. Isn't that a band?
I hope
No,
so.
That's Black Flag. It's jokes.
Isn't that an Assassin's Creed game?
No, it's a Wrong Turn 2 reference.
Ah.
No, did you follow? You get that?
Yeah, I got your
You know
Wrong
what I'm
Turn
talking
2
about?
reference.
Yeah, I knew he was getting the Long Con Wrong Turn 2 reference about Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins. I still can't believe that was Wrong Turn 2. Like,
Is
I just feel like
Yeah.
they jumped the shark in such a big
they
way.
really did right away.
They're just like,
They were like, hey.
what about a movie about cannibal hillbillies who live in Appalachia? By the way, ties together. But then the second movie, they're like, yeah, what if we made this into a fucking Survivor show with Henry Rollins running it? And it's like, what
Dude,
do you mean?
I will say, I don't really like franchise horror for the most part. I've never really been a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. Not really getting Friday the 13th. Halloween bores me. I like Wrong Turn for some reason.
I think it's just because
I
they
don't know
acknowledge
why.
how dumb it is, but also pretty much everyone who works on them are like, yeah, man, I love this movie. This was a blast to do.
I think the thing about Wrong Turn that, for whatever reason, makes it enjoyable to me is it's never a movie I watched as a kid or would have watched as a kid, but it is something that I have watched I've watched probably like 3 or 4 of the Wrong Turn movies, all at hotels.
Yo, that's how I watched Wrong
It's a
Turn
hotel
3.
movie. It's a hotel movie.
It is a hotel movie.
And hotel movies hit different.
Okay, so when I watched Wrong Turn 3, I came in about like 15 minutes into the movie, so I missed all the setup. And all I knew was that it was a scary movie about cannibal families, because I picked up on that much, killing people. And obviously, it was a little cut for TV, but it was on cable, so they could let a lot of it through still. And I was, you know how up at Peak and Peak, they have their art show?
Yeah.
So for a brief time, because their art show happens to land within, like, on my dad's side of the family, there's like 3 birthdays and 4 anniversaries or something, like in that.
Were you talking about
that
like their
area.
Christmas art show, or like they're
The
like
fall
late in
one.
the like their like yeah?
So
Don't they do like a Christmas like craft fair, like a big craft fair?
I think so, but we went to the fall thing,
Okay.
and we would go and rent out a condo like all 5 of my dad's siblings, like everyone in their families, we'd all go up there and hang out. And that's where I watched Wrong Turn 3. And I was in a bedroom that happened to have a little porch that just went right out onto the grass. There was a porch area, and that porch area faced dead into the woods on this mountain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid right now.
Dude, there's something like there is a magic to a hotel movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a hotel movie, to a lesser extent an airplane movie. But like there's just something about like you've been, especially if you're like on a vacation, and let's say let's say you're at Disney World. You go to Disney, you're like 10 or whatever. You run around all day with the Disney McMouse,
Everyone's favorite.
Goofy,
Yeah.
Goofy, Elsa, Olaf. Everybody knows Olaf. Okay, I'm done with this bit. Anyway, let's say you go back to the hotel. You're 10. You're tired. You like get in your little hotel bed, and then like you turn on the TV, and it's a movie you would have never watched otherwise, and it's just a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I watch like 4 Wrong Turn movies. Not at Disney, but like periodically they just be on. I'm like, oh, guess I'm watching this.
Yeah, I don't know. Dan, do you have any good hotel movie stories?
Sorry, I was just holding that silence as long as I could.
I was just letting it ride. Not that I can. I mean, I think I talked in the podcast about the last movie I watched in a hotel. It was a pinnacle of cinema. You might have heard of it. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh hell yeah, that's a good ass hotel movie.
It's like I would actually go so far as to say that is a quintessential hotel movie.
We never did do the watching of Pride and Prejudice.
We did not.
Oh, you guys never did the Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies?
Oh no, we watched that, but we never watched Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, the 7-hour.
No, we never watched.
No, yeah, no, we didn't.
Well,
watch
no, we
either
never
of
watched
them.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies together. Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll get around to it one day.
Mm-hmm. Someday we'll watch it. But
One of the best movies ever made.
Yeah. Honestly, very good movie. Heavily enjoyable. I can't remember.
We talked about it ad nauseum before, but
That's
it's just better than it has any right to be.
And that's the thing, right? Like, there's some movies, like I think Venom falls into the same thing, where it's a movie that I'm never gonna be unhappy to see it on, but I don't know that I would choose to put it on. You know? And I feel like Venom, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and predict Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter probably also on that list. I'm never gonna. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, absolutely yes.
Like, yeah, I'll put that on at a party. But am I gonna sit down and be like, Nina, for this evening's movie, shall we watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Now we did that, and it was actually really funny. I forgot how bad it was. But holy shit, it's special. It's so special. I loved it. But you go out and you do stuff.
What movie I feel like falls into this category, but I feel like it also hinges on just being an actually good movie. The Francis Ford Coppola Dracula.
Ooh.
I don't know why it exists in a fringe of better than it has any right to be, because it's actually just like a star-studded movie by like an acclaimed director that like is literally regarded as one of the best adaptations of the original source material. But for whatever reason, it exists in my mind. I'm like, yeah, but like it's still. I feel like it shouldn't be good.
I mean, I think it's understandable, right? Like there are definitely certain movies that fall into certain categories that you're like that can't be. That's not.
Because like you look at it and you're like, it can't be. Look at this. This is it. This is Dracula. But then you're like, oh,
Actually, it do be Dracula though.
For being such an accurate like replication of a book that's old as shit, it's actually still like makes a good movie in the 90s.
Honestly, that in and of itself is an accomplishment, I will say.
Yeah, I agree. You guys watch Dune yet?
No, I heard it's very good though.
I really want to.
I've heard nothing but good things.
I don't think I'm ever gonna watch it. However, man, it is really fun to see people talk about it. I mean, did you know there's only a single joke in the whole movie, and that's a problem?
Did you know there's Dune?
What?
I think my favorite thing about Dune is everything is so fucking ridiculously named. Literally none of it makes any fucking sense, and to try and replicate it or read it just seems like it's like brain rot. And they're like, anyway, our hero, Paul. Fuck you.
Honestly, the fact that the
Frank.
hero is named Paul does always get me.
It's so funny because they're like, oh yeah, like here's like the Harkonnen like dynasty, and like oh he's like the fucking, all these like ridiculous names and sandworms and the Fremen and Paul.
Yeah. Is it Fremen? I did not know that.
Yeah, the people who exist within the desert planet. I don't know the name of the planet. It's like it starts with an A. But yeah, they're like I don't know if it's pronounced Freeman. I always thought it was Fremen. But
I've always assumed Freeman.
A movie.
I've
always thought it was Fremen, but I've also never heard it said out loud. And I feel like that's how I feel about a lot of Dune things. I'm like, I know the word. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced, though. And I don't want to take a shot at it because now that there's a movie, everybody but me knows.
Amazing. I don't know. Is it in the movie?
I mean, I have to assume it is, right?
They have to. They absolutely have to talk about the Fremen. They can't not reference them. I mean, Zendaya is like a major part of the movie. They got to say the people's name by like.
I mean, that's the thing is Zendaya's not a major part of the movie. Zendaya's only in that movie for like 7 minutes.
Yeah, she comes in, gets her paycheck, and gets the fuck out before it gets weirder.
But isn't it like a plot wise kind of thing? Like, doesn't Paul's relationship with the Freeman like define the movie?
You're the one who knows about Dune.
No, I don't know about Dune. Are you fucking kidding me? Nobody knows about Dune. I've never read Dune. You think people who read Dune don't know anything about Dune?
I have a couple of my coworkers who I did not anticipate to be as into Dune as they are, and they're like, "You haven't seen Dune yet?" And I'm like, "No, oh, no, I have."
And then there's the thing I will say that I didn't know about until recently because I was just looking it up. Apparently, this is part 1.
Yes.
I was never made aware of that, and I feel like they didn't talk about that at all.
From
and
everything,
that's kind of a shitty move.
From everything I hear, it's one of those movies where it's part 1, and like, it's okay if we don't have a part 2. Like, it's fine. Apparently, for the first book, which this is based on, part 1 of the book, real solid. Part 2 of the book, ooh, real stinky.
I mean, that's just. I gotta be honest. That's just Dune. It's really hard to. Not that Dune is inherently bad, but it's very
got a whole
difficult.
saga to adapt.
Yeah, it's a whole saga. At one point, Dune's son, not Dune, Paul. I'm sorry. I called him
son.
No, I called him Tim Dune the other day because I was trying to show that I didn't know who anyone was.
Oh,
and
Tim Dune.
People got
so
real
good.
mad at me. They're like, his name is Paul.
Tim Dune is so good.
Tim Dune is literally a better name than Paul.
But yeah, Paul's
Absolutely.
kid turns into one of the big worms and then gets killed. And there's a whole bunch of weird stuff, but I don't know. There's a lot, they commit a lot of genocide.
Yeah, but like I think I don't know this for sure because I'm cool. I've never read the Dune saga. Like ew. Also, the fact that Jason Momoa plays a character named Duncan Idaho is just amazing to me. Duncan Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like you're just getting coffee, hanging out with Ernest Hemingway. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, Ernest Hemingway.
Hey, you want to get a Boston cream in Twin Falls, and that's not a euphemism. But yeah, Duncan Idaho is just an amazing name for a character in like a space opera. But isn't Dune like isn't there like some tact to the way it discusses these issues, and like it's not just like we're killing people because it's cool? Isn't there like
there's a conversation,
self-awareness to the actual methods behind like the genocide, and it is not looked upon as like something good?
I think so. That vaguely sounds right to me, but I'm
pretty sure it's actually like
that I haven't read Dune.
Oh, absolutely.
Although I did pick up the audiobook because I
spare 57 hours.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Like that's literally like a full like 2 weeks of work for me. I can sit and pound through that in a few weeks.
I can't focus when I'm like if I'm doing audiobook, it has to be while driving.
I do it in the bus a lot. I listen to podcasts and audiobooks in the bus a lot.
But also, I can't do an audiobook that's super long unless I'm taking a lot of consistent road trips or something, or if I'm taking a lot of long drives. Because usually my drives are no more than like half an hour. So like for example, I got the American Gods audiobook. It's like 30 hours. Also, it's not that good. I think American Gods kind of sucks ass.
Damn, I can't believe you roast my boy Neil Gaiman like that. That's pretty fucked up, dude.
I think Neil Gaiman, he kind of sucks ass.
Whoa!
I thought you
I don't know
Neil
why,
Diamond.
but
I've never heard anyone call
Neil
him
Diamond?
Gaiman.
No,
I've always heard.
Oh,
Gaiman.
really? I've
Diamond
only ever heard
Fox?
it pronounced Gaiman. It might be Gaiman. Doesn't matter.
I've always said Gaiman, but I think it kind of sucks.
I don't
I mean,
think
he seems like a very nice guy. He seems like he'd be really cool. Like I feel like a lot of his work is like really well respected. But like from my point of view, and when I'm reading it, and when I'm like trying to enjoy it, I just don't.
I don't think we can be friends anymore. I think that might be it. That might be a line in the sand for me.
Oh yeah, this is the first time I've criticized something you enjoy.
I mean, to be fair, right? I don't mind. Like American Gods, it's fine, whatever. I also haven't read it, and there's a reason for that. But as an author, I don't know if we can be. I don't think we're cool anymore.
Why?
I think that's a weird line to draw. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Listen, dude.
Yeah.
Listen.
What is your favorite book by Neil Gaiman?
I mean, you know, I'm gonna say Good Omens, and that's gonna be like, oh, a basic bitch book, but like, I don't know, it's so
basic
good.
Wasn't that like
bitch.
a TV show for people who like Doctor Who?
Yeah, a little bit, but also it was a book.
That's why.
It was a book. It was a book first, and the book is very good.
Was it a book for people who like Doctor Who?
Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Okay.
I would actually say it is actively the opposite of that. It was also co-written by him and Terry Pratchett.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the over under on it. Give me the why I should invest.
A demon,
30 seconds.
a demon and an angel are both assigned to watch the
Oh
Antichrist
God,
grow up.
no.
It's great.
No.
It's very good.
That's been done 75,000 times.
This was written in like, when was this originally written? This was written forever ago.
Neil Gaiman's like 37. No, he's probably like 50 something, right?
No, Neil Gaiman.
Neil
He's in his 50s for
Gaiman's
sure.
been dead for 80 years.
There is no Neil Gaiman.
Never was.
Wake
Never
up.
will be.
No, I'd say he's in his 50s, right? I mean,
He's 60. He's 60 years old.
Okay.
Get dunked on.
He's 60 on the dot.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
the
he'll be
book was
61 in like 10 days.
The
Happy
book was
birthday,
written
Neil
in
Gaiman.
1990. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a
not
very fun book.
fully, overdone at that time.
No, I would argue if you have Terry Pratchett brought in on something, it doesn't matter how overdone it is. It's gonna be good anyway. Don't at me.
I also, this is more also kind of a me thing, but like Angels and Demons, I think
You sleep.
aren't fun plot devices if they're taken as like biblical angels and demons, and then they don't use the Bible as like a crazy piece of folklore.
They kind of do, right? So the whole book is about like, hey, here's the end times. The end times are upon us because we fucking let the Antichrist into the world, and instead of being like taken away by a cult of Satan worshippers, he ends up like living in just like a random house in bumblefuck nowhere, England, and growing up like a very normal kid.
Oh, I knew Neil Gaiman was English. There was a reason I didn't like him.
Ah, there it is. We found it.
It's all coming together. I didn't
There
even
it
realize
is.
until just now.
It's very
There's
good.
no wonder I hated a book about America written by a guy from England. What the fuck does he know about America?
It's a good book. I really enjoyed Good Omens. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm not gonna say it'd be like, oh, it's the best book ever, but I really like Good Omens.
No, that's good. I mean, I really like. I don't have any problem with Neil Gaiman as a person. I just think that the kinds of stories he writes and the kinds of stories I enjoy don't intersect.
I think it's fair. I feel like he and Terry Pratchett do fill a lot of a similar, like a lot of similar. What is the fucking word? Range, vibe.
Yeah, it's to say you might hate me for this.
You don't like Terry
I
Pratchett
think
either.
I'm kind of resident sleeper on Terry Pratchett.
That's fair.
Terry Pratchett.
That's fair. I think Terry Pratchett's also one that like if you don't have 100 hours to get into it, like don't even start.
Yeah, like what are his big ones?
It's Discworld. He's Discworld.
I gotta
Like
be honest, as someone who knows a little bit about him, that means jack shit to me.
Oh,
Yeah, that makes
it's
jack shit to me.
okay.
You're
it's
talking about a franchise or
massive-
his like series, not
there are 41 novels in this series. Like that is
oh
what
my god!
like that's what he's known for. He's known for Discworld.
Flat planet. It's a flat Earth. That's awesome. Actually,
It's actually it's a really
red pilled.
also extremely like irreverent and like just has a good time with all the things it's doing. Death is like an actual character that just hangs out half the time. Not like the embodiment of like Death himself is just an actual person that vibes. He's great. He's great.
I feel like my big issue that I have with Terry Pratchett, as someone who has not read his books, is that he inspires some really bad imitation because people
You know
think
what?
they
I
understand why his stuff
100%
is
agree
good.
with that.
And
I 100% agree with that.
And that's like, because I mean, Death being a character that hangs out in world, the first thing I thought of was, wow, that's shit. Because all I could think of was all the things that I've seen where it's like, oh, and and death is here too. And it's like, well, that's not as funny as I think you and your friends thought it was, but okay, that's fine. Like, because I don't want to, much in the realm of me trying to not be too disrespectful about all the Appalachia stories.
Mhm.
I don't want to shit on people's creativity too much because
No, you can. It's okay.
everyone, well, no, because everyone starts somewhere, and that's fine, and I understand and agree with that. But some people never get past the stage where they're writing what just boil down to Pratchett fanfic, and
Yeah,
that's
that's very fair.
Yeah. It's kind of
Okay.
like, yo, dog, like you're literally like society exists and you're in Samaria still. Like just hanging out with cuneiform tablets.
sometimes it's like that.
And that's sometimes cool, but sometimes I sleep.
I think it's okay to
The
sleep.
only good author ever,
I'm waiting.
that was it. None.
None.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm illiterate.
These books can't help me because I can't read.
I'm stupid as hell.
No, I agree actually 100%. Like that's the worst part of Terry Pratchett's writing is the amount of people who are like, yes, Terry Pratchett is my direct influence, and then don't understand like what makes his work good.
I also was a
It's
big fan
actually-
of people trying to be like, Terry Pratchett would be a TERF, actually.
No,
that
no,
was
he
a really-
wouldn't.
It was a really funny argument I was seeing for a hot minute.
Bro, I don't know anything
Oh.
about Terry Pratchett, but why would he be a turf?
Because people wanted him to like be a worse person than he was. When from all accounts, he was just like the nicest, coolest guy. Like it's wild.
Yeah, I mean his choice of hats, I give like a 6 out of 10 in all the pictures I'm seeing. But like he seems like just like an old guy.
Yeah, he's just okay.
He's just a guy.
Nothing wrong with being old.
No, I mean besides being
Happens
old,
to a lot of people. You know, it happens to a lot of people.
it happens to the best of us and the worst of us. But yeah, no, I actually genuinely, Jackson, I think you would really like Terry Pratchett.
Actually, genuinely, Jackson, I think you would fucking hate Terry Pratchett.
Well, because like all of his work is satire. Like almost all of it. I think actually literally all of it is satire.
Oh, is this like what's the guy's name in the Kurt Vonnegut novel
Dune?
who writes all like the shitty like it's Tim Dune. No, you know the one, the guy who writes a whole bunch of like shitty. It's Kilgore Trout.
I haven't read enough Asimov. Sorry.
You guys don't know Kilgore Trout?
No, sorry, fam.
Kilgore
Okay,
Trout is another Dune character. isn't
Fuck.
he?
Kilgore Trout is Tim Dune's uncle. No, Kilgore Trout is it's a fictional character. But it's from Kurt Vonnegut. It's a Kurt Vonnegut book. Which one is it? Fuck if I know. Breakfast of Champions, I'm pretty sure, but I think it's like a he's in a couple. I think he's also in Slaughterhouse-5. But in Breakfast of Champions, Kilgore Trout like is just a shitty science fiction author who writes bad books, but he writes a fuck ton of them, and he gets literally no attention. Nobody knows who he is. He's literally like destitute. And then this one guy starts reading his books, and he's like, "These books were written directly for me." And then he kind of goes crazy, and it's kind of the catalyst for the events that take place towards the back half of Breakfast of Champions. But it's a really interesting writing. And Kilgore Trout is, I feel like, a Terry Pratchett-esque character in that he just writes a shitload of science fiction books that are misunderstood and misrepresented by people as having meaning they don't.
No,
although
they
in the case of Kilgore Trout, well, no,
Go ahead,
in the
finish.
case of Kilgore Trout, they actually don't have
I was gonna say, yeah, there you go.
meaning.
Yeah. Because I
Whereas in
agree
Terry
with
Pratchett's
you.
case, people get the wrong meaning.
That I 100% agree with.
But
I
they
don't
still
think-
get the wrong meaning out of the Kilgore Trout because there is no meaning.
I don't think that people generally get a wrong meaning out of Terry Pratchett, just because like the general thing, the wrong meaning is, oh, Terry Pratchett would be a TERF, but that's not actually represented in his books outside of some like, oh, what is it that Nina was telling me about, Monster Battalion or something, where there's
I don't
some
Monster Mash?
Yeah, Monster Mash, where there's some things that you could almost interpret as like bad opinions, but also there's some really like pretty
Well,
trans
isn't
positive
his-
stuff in there too.
I was gonna say, isn't his daughter trans?
No idea. I cannot stress enough how little I know about Terry Pratchett.
It is absolutely imperative that you know I have absolutely zero understanding of Terry Pratchett and have never really come across him in anything other than his name until about 10 minutes ago.
I need to read the rest of his
And
books.
you're a
I've
huge
read
fan
bits
now,
and pieces of his writing. I gotta be real, Jackson. I think you would actually really like it.
Yeah, let me just start reading 41
Yeah,
novels written in.
I mean, what are you doing
No.
with your time?
Reading other books.
All right.
I was gonna say try to
just-
interview
sci-fi
people
just
that don't
kinda-
interview you.
Well,
Sci-fi kind of gets lost on me sometimes.
I mean, that's why I think you would enjoy it, because he does not care for, like, he does care for sci-fi, but like it very much starts as like a parody of sci-fi and then just fucks off and does its own thing after a while.
41 books though.
No, I agree.
For
I
the
agree.
jokes of being like, isn't this kind of silly? I already thought about the fact that it's silly. I hate Glub Shido as much as everybody else, but I don't got the time to think about why. If I think about why too much, I'll just end up asking more questions about, myself. And oh god, I can't do that anymore.
That's a lot. Questions about self or no? I'm good.
Yeah, I've identified as much of myself as I will ever need to. Thank you very much. I will never go back to that subject. I'm 100% kidding, by the way, but
Obviously,
I think
yes,
that
but
constant introspection and growth are imperative for development. But
See, I thought
But
the
also,
joke was
haha,
that
funny joke.
get it? I'm never gonna talk about myself again. Ha ha ha, get it? I thought that was the
that's
joke.
impossible. I always talk about myself
You know what?
see, that's the joke.
in the third person. That's right. We're switching gears. Jackson is no longer confined to first person.
That's a scary thought.
He is
Good for
now.
Jackson.
He is now expanded. He is out of body.
I didn't know Jackson was into expanding.
Yeah, inflation's top 3.
Dan, are you good?
All right, no, you got me. Got me on that one. I like
Kind
that.
of sounded like you were deflating right then.
I was,
I mean, it's
I
like
was
all the-
de-expanding.
I always love any kind of like tweet or post that ends with like, "Don't believe me? Just look up Mario inflation." When they're like, I can't believe that like the effect of like whatever like Nintendo did, like they pulled Mario from a lot of their shelves and like it's actually created like an immense like rise in the price of like Mario collectibles. Don't believe me? Just look up Mario inflation.
Yeah, it's a very,
I
very
love
good
those
bit.
posts.
I'm a huge fan.
Every like 6 months, I'll see one that ends with like it's like talking about like crypto, and it ends with like just look up Sonic inflation.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Someone got.
It is pretty great though.
at least one crypto bro was like, no, dude, they can't right click save my Sonic coin. Oh no.
But they can't, Jackson. They simply can't.
Yeah, because then they're not the original owner.
You don't understand. It's different when I right click and
I have
save.
blockchain evidence saying that this is my pit crew monkey.
Oh my gosh, they're not even selling things that aren't fucking the worst.
Yeah.
And that's
If you
the
buy,
worst
like-
part. Also,
Exactly. If you buy like
no.
a unique Weezer album NFT, I'm not gonna say good for you, but like I can understand. If you're buying a fucking pit crew lion smoking a doobie for $8,000, are you fucking insane?
So, did you hear about Elijah Wood buying an NFT?
I have no.
Okay, so Elijah Wood bought an NFT recently, posted about it. He's like, "Oh, I'm super happy and excited." And I mean, it looked shitty, just like every NFT looks. But people looked into the artist, and it turns out that this guy's actually like a white supremacist artist. And a lot of people are having
Oh, no.
Yeah, people are having a lot of issues believing that he didn't know about that beforehand, because it's really hard not to know about these things when that's the guy's main body of work is racist cartoons.
Oh,
So
no.
I'm really hoping.
I thought Elijah Wood was the people's champion. I thought he was cool.
See,
I also thought he was cool.
I really, 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 really hope that it's some incredibly tragic accident, because I like Elijah Wood.
I would like to continue liking Elijah Wood.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I got nothing else to fill in there. That's just like my like strong hope is that Elijah Wood isn't actually the worst person I've ever met. Not
Can't believe
having
you
met
met
him. I know, right? Yeah, you're welcome. Let me just flex on everyone. Me and my good personal friend Elijah Wood. See, that's a joke that I actually shouldn't make, because I'm talking about how much I'm angry with him.
Me and my good personal friend, white supremacist
No
Elijah
white
Wood.
supremacist.
But
Michelle
yeah.
actually has hung out with Elijah Wood. Fun fact.
And see,
know-
that was actually the first thing I thought of when I saw that news. I'm like, oh
no, Michelle's gonna be
how
so
will
sad.
Michelle feel? And then I'm like, well, probably like not too much different than she does right now, but it still sucks.
Yeah, it's not like her life hinges upon having met Elijah Wood.
It could.
Or maybe it does. I don't know. It could. Maybe that's a bigger part than I know.
Man, you want to ask her about that
Uh,
real quick?
She's not home right now, but I would.
Hey, I'm recording this at work, so no one snitch on me. But a lot has actually happened since the Elijah Wood thing. a lot has come up about that. So, firstly, when he was made aware of it, he sold his NFTs from George Trostley, the racist NFT guy. He had a few that belonged to him, and he got rid of all of them and donated all the money that he made from selling them. I believe at a loss. He's donated all the money to BLM and NAACP. The artist's son claims that his dad, his old work doesn't reflect the character of that group. But like, I mean, let's be real here. That's kind of silly. But yeah, just wanted to clear this up. Obviously, it's still a huge thing. NFT collecting aside, like not talking about that at all. Obviously, not doing the research into your NFT people. And buying racist art is kind of scummy. But just wanted to give that update so it wasn't we aren't as behind the times as this is going to be in like a week or two. So that's about it.
I will say the thing about NFTs that just pisses me off the most is like, I'm not saying they're good, but there is potential for at least somewhat cool things to exist as an NFT.
Mhm.
Why is it all shit bought for Ethereum that looks like ass?
No, I'm 100% with you. That is exactly where I land on it too.
If you're gonna like be a fucking piece of shit, trade in crypto and like eat up electricity at an alarming rate and just fuck everything, why do it for a goddamn monkey? Do it for like something like music. I think can work better as an NFT because like you can't just right click save it, and unless you're posting your, like, you can just listen to the song. You're like, yeah, I own a song.
See, here's
Yeah.
the thing though, like what bugs me is crypto guys
not saying
are
do it, but I'm-
acting as if they invented the concept of private commissions. And that's what bugs me the most is like the ability to have the one and only copy of a given piece of art does exist. And
Yeah,
it's not that
it's
hard.
existed for so long.
But these people are so committed to not only having the only piece of that art that exists, but also to like
Make it their profile picture.
yeah,
Where you can-
it's but they also want to show off the fact that they have that art, and that's like you can have it, and then if you share it and you share yourself a low res version of it, like almost every artist does with commissions, where they post
Yeah.
a low res and the person who commissioned them got the high res version. Oh no,
Or even if the artist posts a high res, like a lot of times commissions are very personal, whereas a lot of NFTs don't feel like personal or meaningful.
no, they just
like
feel
a lot
like
of times
someone who
like,
did it to do it.
yeah, like if you see someone's Twitter profile picture and it's not like a photograph, it's probably like well, not probably. There's a good chance it's a commission or it's like just like a screenshot from like an anime or something. But like, there's a good chance if you see like what looks like a piece of art as someone's profile picture, it's a commission.
Mhm. Yeah,
And,
they
like,
likely paid for that.
Because it's personal and it was likely paid for, and not like an insane amount of money, not $8,000, probably like, between 20, 50, maybe a little less if it's like a, a sketch, but like, or maybe more if it's furry.
Exactly.
But like, the it's just those things don't get, no one's like talking about, no, don't right click save my persona, because like no one's doing that because it's a personal thing that they care about,
Mhm.
not like a status symbol.
But people are going around with lazy lion
Rich
profile
people-
pictures, and they're like, "Oh yeah, see, I'm cool because of my."
Bro, it's literally in the name. Lazy is in the name. Fuck you, it's a pic crew.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, I think it's just absurd because, as always, rich people just exist to ruin art,
Mm-hmm.
by trying to commercialize and capitalize on the fact that they can possess it instead of talking about the fact that it should be experienced. And in the case of something like a commission, it should be individualized because it doesn't exist to be a point of profit or resale for you. It exists to be something you enjoy because that's the point of art. And you can't tell me people genuinely enjoy having $12,000 monkey smoking a doobie.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Jackson, but I do enjoy that.
Oh,
Get dunked
okay.
on.
My bad.
No, but yeah.
I would rather just pay like an artist on Twitter or anywhere that like I like their art style, that I like their work. I'd rather just pay them whatever their commission rate is for, which is gonna probably be way less than $8,000, always,
Yeah, honestly.
for like a cool picture of a monkey smoking a joint, because it'd be probably better looking and also I would care more about it.
I mean, that's what my profile picture is right now. Is a horror artist I follow was doing a special like, oh hey, everyone asked me for this, so here you go. I'm doing creepy Twitter icons. You pay me $30, I give you a creepy icon, and I'm like, hell yeah, I love their art. I would like to support them, so I bought myself a dumb little Twitter icon. It's very easy to do, and you know what? It's mine. You can copy
Yeah,
it, I guess,
exactly.
but it's a picture of me, so that would like there's no reason to it, you know? Like
That's it. I'm right click saving a picture of Noah.
no, not
That's it. Your value is just plummeted.
I can't
knows if you
believe you
take a
just
Do you have a
picture of
right-click
somebody-
blockchain
saved
proving
my
you're the original
face.
owner? How's your blockchain doing?
Um, I don't
Got him.
know.
Yes. I got him. I'm the coolest now. No one can prove I wasn't the original owner. Yeah, I think just the idea of like the absolute cost people sink and the value they get out of it for the idea of just proof of ownership. Owning things isn't as important as people make it out to be, and I really am like saddened by it a lot of the time. Like just how much people put emphasis on ownership.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so like Western capitalist to see people scrounging around, squabbling, and like just like killing themselves over the course of like 10 years to try and own something that won't be theirs forever and as impermanent as they are. Like it's just the idea of mine. Like even like you see it in kids, they're like, that's mine, this is yours, this is like
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to assign everything in ownership. Sometimes things are just good collective. Like housing. Why the fuck do we own housing? What do you mean? You got a square? Congratulations. Shouldn't everybody have one? Can it be easily fixed?
No, you see, that would take away money from not me, but billionaires. And since I want to be a billionaire someday, it's actually
gotta keep
taking away
giving them
money
money.
from me.
I think there's a
Potentially, yeah.
for what it's worth. I think there's a space for both. Like you can believe that everyone should have access to housing and also be okay with people owning houses. I just want
I,
to.
I
I
don't-
didn't say I have a problem with people owning houses. I think I have a problem with people placing so much emphasis on ownership of a house and ownership of houses and ownership of property.
Sure.
And like housing should just be accessible, and it like owning houses doesn't matter because as soon as housing is accessible, owning houses just doesn't affect anything. You know, like you can't owning 10 houses doesn't matter if everyone can get a place to live because no one's gonna be renting from your shitty ass.
Yeah, my beef with home
I think
ownership
having
is
a-
when landlords own them and I can't buy one because everyone's bought them all.
And they're not making it, and the people who have the capital to make more are refusing to make more, and they're not letting you take out a loan to make another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a couple big squares could fix it all. Quite literally, just a big old box of cubes. Not that hard.
Did you hear about the dorm building that some rich guy designed that has no windows and no like access to the outside, and it's part of like this crazy mind experiment to see what happens? Or at least that's what the architect referred to it as. I think people are kind of running with that headline. I don't think the billionaire intentionally is making it a mind experiment.
Is
But
the architect going to participate in the mind experiment? Because
no,
otherwise, I don't give a fuck.
no, the architect quit. It's like the university architect that they have around for these type of things, and he's like, "Hey,
Mhm.
what the fuck, guys? I'm not building this." And they're like, "Build it," and he said no, and he quit.
Yeah, we gotta stop subjecting college kids to like psychological experiments.
No way, really?
Not only because the field of psychology is heavily American and it just creates a further like divide from how we understand people because we're only understanding like educated American people, but also just like it's kind of shitty because it's like an 18-year-old. Just let him try and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can't be
It's like
happy,
this-
why should they be happy?
That's true, but can you not be happy because of the architect who made you live in a black box, or is it perhaps other reasons
No, I think
that they might also be struggling with?
No. I think it's I can't be happy if someone else is happy. I think that's how it works.
Oh, yeah, we should make everyone sad for Dan's sake.
Thank you. Thank you
know,
for your service.
I wasn't down for this, but you pointed out that everyone should be happy for Dan's sake, and then I'm like, okay, fine.
No, everyone should be
Or
sad.
everyone should be sad.
No one should be happy.
Everyone should
Yeah.
be sad because Dan is also sad, and I'm like, well, I mean,
Well, yeah, but
As
and then if
long
everyone's
as-
sad, Dan will be
as
happy.
long as everyone's
So-
sad.
If everyone's super.
Then Dan's happy.
That is the quote. I remember that.
Easy enough.
Yeah. What a good movie with a great quote.
Yeah, I feel like we shouldn't build dorms without windows or access to the outside.
You know,
Because
that does just sound like a prison. Like, I'm not, I mean, yes, college is a prison, whatever, but like, that is, like, who?
See, not only does it sound like a
Host.
prison, but more importantly, it sounds like a fire hazard.
That's true too.
absolutely.
Like, there's not a
I
single
feel
part of me
like-
that believes that this is a good idea.
No way.
But someone is going
you
to
just get to,
insist
like-
that it gets made because, well, you can't discount his idea just because he's rich. Unless you have a real reason not to build that, then we got to build it. He donated
Yeah, I feel like
a couple $1 million to it.
these kind of things are just insane to me. Because like, it's kind of like making a building like that, especially if it's for any kind of like gain in terms of like a research, which I don't know that it is, but like if it were to be like the architect said, like it just creates more of an understanding of reality that just is like based off that same kind of like Stanford prison experiment type of understanding, where it's like this is how humanity works, when in reality it's how like 30 white dudes locked in a basement worked, who are all under the age of 25 and all college educated from a similar region. It's not how the world works. It's like, and I feel like a lot of these like research experiments are done, and then that's what they glean from. They're like, yep, this is humanity. No, that's the people that were in the room. You got to get a bigger picture. You got to replicate the experiment all over the place
Well,
with all sorts
maybe-
of people.
Maybe don't replicate
Not
that
that one,
experiment.
obviously. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, obviously that one is
maybe-
not going to be replicated.
Mm,
But I just feel like that experiment shouldn't be cited or talked about as often as it is,
Mhm.
I think it's fair.
unless people are criticizing it.
In which case, continue talking about it nonstop because it should be criticized.
I'm glad we all agree.
I'm very I am fascinated by like what like the idea of experiments such as Stanford that are objectively bad ideas and like on a moral level reprehensible, should not be done under any circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. I'm fascinated by like the idea of like what value is actually gained there, because like in some cases I'm sure there is a value to be gained if you just completely throw like common human morality to the wind.
Well,
But I
at
don't
the
obviously
time,
not
what
worth
they
it.
were
Obviously
doing-
not like a good thing. But I'm just interested in like that as a idea. I guess I don't know conceptually. That's the word.
and that's the thing. Like the idea is they were like, oh yeah, at the end of this, we'll know like how people interact like under these like circumstances, and that's what they like preach. They're like, yeah, we know it was reprehensible, but here's why we did it. Here's what we learned, and people were like, oh man, that was bad, but I'm glad we learned that.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, we're like, we didn't learn fucking shit.
We learned
because
nothing,
that doesn't
yeah.
paint an accurate picture. It's like the white, educated like people from industrialized societies who are being shoved into a room and then interacting with one another. So it is literally their worldview that is being taken and then analyzed and projected upon all of mankind.
Yeah.
When 30 dudes from California
When
who are
locked in a
all going
room.
to a prestigious university are going to behave wildly differently than 30 fishermen in Chile.
Yeah.
There is just such a massive difference in like the world view that people have, and the fact that like that experiment was ever looked upon as gleaning anything like methodology aside,
Mhm.
like the fact that it was ever looked upon as teaching anyone anything about the nature of people
Mm.
is just absurd to me.
I agree. I think that Jackson is friendly and supportive. We should just replicate this experiment across all cultures, across all parts of the world. Is what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep doing that one. Let's
That
keep
one
locking people in a
specifically.
room for days. Yeah.
That's also
can
what I
trap me
think
in a room for
Jackson is
days.
saying.
Yeah, precisely. I think they should just keep doing it.
The
But
problem,
no, I
the
just
problem
feel
wasn't
like
the experiment. The problem was they didn't think big enough.
I just feel like it shouldn't be talked about. Like it
Yeah.
shouldn't.
We
get
should
any
no
kind-
longer care about
because
it.
not only was the methodology flawed, but also the findings don't mean anything because they don't paint any kind of accurate picture, and there's no like equity, there's no inclusion, and there's literally zero diversity. So yeah, there's nothing gained from an experiment that was conducted in a horrific manner.
I was
it's
thinking
just-
about that earlier today because I was watching. You all familiar with Folding Ideas?
I'm not.
Oh.
Not.
Well, he's a video essayist, and
Mhm.
he did this one thing about a bunch of like scientists and stuff were tricked into being part of a geocentrism documentary.
Ooh.
Yeah, and the whole video basically just boils down to the people being like, "Hey, what the fuck?" and him being like, "Yeah, so this is kind of how it happened." But there was a clip of this one person who was involved in it saying, well, I made sure that everything would be represented because I wanted to make sure we weren't just presenting a single side here. I wanted to make sure that everyone got to have a voice at the table. And that was like an important thing to this person apparently. But I gotta be honest. It got me thinking the fact that, some people they shouldn't have a seat at the table.
Correct.
And
It depends on the table. I think it varies.
I think if the table is legitimate scientific discussion and you're like, what if the Earth is the center of the universe though? I don't think we've thought enough about the possibility of that.
Right, but I feel like if the table is actual scientific discussion, then that will be refuted and disproven pretty quickly. And if it is an actual discussion taking place, that person won't maintain that viewpoint, because if they do, then it's not scientific and it's not actual, it's just delusional.
But
And then they don't get a place at the table because they're not participating under the
Good faith.
circumstances that are set out for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It just becomes a bad faith argument that they're doing to save face,
Who would do that?
I got to be honest. I don't think
Me.
people would change their minds is the problem.
Exactly, and that's the point where, like, if people are unwilling to change their mind when presented with irrefutable proof in the other direction, then they don't get a seat at the table. But like, I feel like they shouldn't be shut off from the get go, because I'm not saying it's gonna happen. But what if they like literally pull out some like, hey, and everyone else at the table's like, oh, what the fuck? Again, it
never thought
won't.
of
It's
that.
not going to happen about particular things, because there are some things that we can prove beyond any reasonable doubt. Such as the shape of the planet. It's been proven for so long. Like in Egypt, they fucking knew this shit. So that's one of those things that I feel like even having like a flat earther at the table, they're probably not going to make it to the table, because no one with any kind of scientific background is going to make it that far up the totem pole there to actually have a discussion with other peers with that opinion.
Mhm.
But I feel like the opinion shouldn't be necessarily at the table, but like, if someone has an opinion that doesn't necessarily mesh with everybody else, and they like voice it and are refuted, I think if they're willing to change their mind or willing to understand the evidence presented against them, they shouldn't be excluded.
It's a big if.
Exactly, and that is the if though, and I think at that point you have to, like, when new information isn't met with a new understanding, I think then you start to question their legitimacy and their place, like, among others. But
Mm-hmm.
you give them a fair shake, give them a chance, and then fuck them. Like, if
All right. I'll give to that.
yeah, like I'm not saying like, oh, we should like let white supremacists talk, but I think
No.
if they present their argument and are immediately shut down, and they don't understand why the nature of their argument is not only bad faith but also like
Harmful.
just absurd, like, if they can't look past that, then yeah, they don't have a place. But if they're willing to come to terms with how reality affects their viewpoint, then maybe. I also don't think you should televise that kind of thing, though. I think that can be a private discussion.
Mhm.
I would agree.
And I think a lot of research is done privately, and I think that's kind of the benefit.
Can't get too caught up in what's popular and trying to appease people with your findings if you don't televise it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's one of the weird things is like, I've probably talked about it before in the podcast, but like, psychology is an overwhelmingly American field, globally speaking. And that's not like that's not a dig on psychology. I think America, like, if there is one thing our country does very well academically, it's psychology, and that's kind of been the American mainstay for a long time. Like, most psychology programs and psychologists emerge from the U.S., whether or not they're like native. Some people, people come here for that kind of like science, or soft science, as some people call it. But I think that's kind of bullshit to call things like that soft science. And I feel like when like American psychology is really cool, and the fact that we have such a pioneering force in the field is really interesting, but it also brings about some of our cultural and ethnocentric norms and throws them onto the global stage
Mm.
because of the fact that we're pioneering a science
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't necessarily exist with other things. Like, let's say China has amazing mechanical engineering. When they come and mechanical engineer a building in the U.S., an engineer in China, mechanical engineering is a harder science. You can be like, yeah, that's how a structure works. That's how rebar functions within concrete.
Yeah.
So like, a civil engineer in China and a civil engineer in the United States can have the same understanding about the factual usage of rebar within concrete and how that can, increase the compressive force or like the tensile force of the raw material. But something like psychology that talks about the human mind and like the human condition and how we operate doesn't necessarily hold if it's from an American-born English-speaking person who's in like Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think the field of psychology is a little scuffed, but not irreparably so. And I think there's still like a lot to uncover and a lot to discover. Yeah, I think it's cool overall, and I think it's good overall. I think it's important to understand the Americanization of the field and also our ethnocentric approach to doing research.
It's one of those things where, people are really quick to remind everyone, remember, sample size matters and stuff like that, but also they will immediately buy into things where they don't actually look into that type of stuff, like Stanford prison
Yeah,
experiment.
exactly. And it's a little bit it is kind of hard sometimes because like it is good science and it is good findings and there are real understandings to be had, but I think sometimes the bigger picture gets thrown out and people don't always take into account the way that people express themselves. I mean, that's why like linguistics and things like psychology and sociology have to go hand in hand because the way that we express ourselves and the way that we conduct ourselves is not only heavily cultural, but it's heavily like lingual. Like the way we speak, the languages we speak affect the way that we are able to express ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so even just like a language barrier becomes such a huge deal in something like psychology. If you're speaking English and you're working with subjects that speak Greek, you're gonna have sure you'll have a fraction understanding and they'll probably translating work, but that translating work is never 100% accurate and it does become a little bit more difficult to understand a culture and the people you're doing research on. But yeah, I just think, it's really cool. Just those things need to be kept in mind. I don't know why we're talking about this. When we're talking about like the Wendigos.
Yeah, we were. Let me bring us back around real quick. Soldier Boy just bought
Yeah,
an
doing it.
Angry Ape NFT. And someone
Oh
points
man.
out that Soldier Boy has his finger in literally every shady scam in planet Earth, and that's really funny.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I think Soldier Boy he's the scam artist king. He's the top grifter of all time.
I don't think he's the top grifter. I think he's one of the top griftees.
Oh yeah, he do be getting grifted, honestly. But he just has such a drive to keep getting grifted.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive. He's like inverse Bernie Madoff.
Man, I tell you, I
Yeah.
would hope that he would be getting better at it at some point, but he won't. Ah,
But
fuck!
he's
I
still
just realized I was
he's still
shaking my
making
foot the
moves.
entire recording, like halfway through, and it picked up.
Uh-oh, how fucked are we?
Oh no, it's fine. It's just a little low end noise that I'm gonna have to filter out.
Little Noah foot sounds.
Yes.
That'll cost you extra. We're gonna make this a Patreon exclusive.
Noah feet pics. I mean sounds.
Follow up to Neil Cicierega's big album Mouth Sounds, Foot Sounds.